You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Unfortunately, the bye week struggles continue for Syracuse football. They are now 0-2 this season in games after a bye week. Not very good, obviously. 0-2. Their first one was against Stanford, and then obviously last night against Pitt on the road. Not good. Not good. But before we get to the point, which is that the bye week struggles are continuing for Syracuse football, I want to make one thing crystal clear, okay? I want to make this very clear. A bye week is not an excuse. It's not an excuse. I do not want to hear it. It's not an excuse that this team continues to struggle after a bye week, right? Both of Syracuse's losses, as I just said, have come after the bye week. But here's really why there's no excuse for it, right? Stanford was also coming off a bye. And they had to travel too, all the way from California. Remember how big of a deal everyone made when they were led into the ACC? What's going to happen when everyone has to travel, right? They had to travel from the West Coast to the East Coast after a bye week. And they won. Pitt was also coming off a bye. Now, I get it that Syracuse was on the road. I get it that they don't like to win in Pitt. They haven't won there since 2001. It's still not an excuse because Pitt is also coming off a bye. Pitt and Stanford were coming off bye weeks as well. It's not an excuse that Syracuse football once again laid an egg after a bye week. Prior to Fran Brown, and this is why it's called bye week struggles continue, because prior to Fran Brown, Syracuse football's head coach was Dino Babers from 2016 to the very end of 2023. And after bye weeks under Dino Babers, their record was not great. They were 4-9. All right. And I'm going to put a Fran Brown quote here up on the screen for you guys right now. Here's what he said post-game. Okay. I thought that we practiced really well both times off of a bye week. The ball didn't fall the way it was supposed to. We'll look through all this stuff and make the changes we need as a program. So two things with this. Maybe I'm taking this a little too literally. The ball didn't bounce the way it was supposed to. The ball didn't bounce the way it was supposed to. Maybe I'm just taking it too literally, but that's not what happened last night. That's not what happened at all. Kyle McCord's interceptions were not fluky ones. I know the second one was off a batted ball, and the linebacker who caught it made a terrific play to keep that above the ground and make an interception. But it was a poor decision that led to the interception. It's one of those things where sometimes you create your own good luck and sometimes you create your own bad luck. And a bad decision can lead to an unfortunate result, even though you can maybe consider that a little bit unlucky that it should have been an incomplete pass off a batted ball. But you create your own bad luck when you throw a bad ball. That's just how it works. Both times after the bye week, Syracuse football's offense has looked flat to start the game. It's looked flat. It's not a symptom of, the ball's just not bouncing our way. That's not what happened. Against Stanford, they were down 10-0 after the first quarter, getting drastically outgained. Couldn't do anything on offense for the most part in that first half, aside from one big play to Amari Hatcher at the end of the first half. And Stanford's not even a good team. We've seen what they have done since that game. That loss just still looks terrible, right? They play against a good team in Pitt last night. You get embarrassed when your offense is flat after a bye week. So this is not a case of the ball just didn't bounce our way. No, the offense just was not prepared, and their quarterback had an off game. Their offensive line was not good. Their receivers were dropping balls. Nothing was going right, but it was not a symptom of the ball is not bouncing our way. I do want to at least give a little shout out to the defense because I thought they actually played pretty well. It wasn't a bad game from the defense. At least they showed up, right? But overall, this was not a case as Fran Brown said, that it didn't fall the way it was supposed to. The ball just bounced the wrong way. No. They just got completely outplayed on offense. They made that Pitt defense look a lot better than it really is. It's not bad. It's not a bad unit, but going into the game, it was kind of middle of the pack in the ACC. It wasn't some elite defense. They made them look like the Steel Curtain. That's what happened, right? My second takeaway from this is that as much as I'm criticizing Coach Fran Brown here and the rest of the coaching staff, there's going to be growing pains. And it goes back to having a brand new head coach, a coach in Fran Brown who's never been a head coach at any level prior to this season. There's going to be growing pains. And I hope that this bye week trend of struggling after a bye does not continue. And I think you have to have a little bit of faith that next season, when they're coming off a bye week, that they're not going to completely lay an egg, right? You got to hope, you got to have a little bit of faith that they can correct those issues and make the necessary changes that are required to come out more better prepared after a bye week. There's just going to be growing pains with this. The thing that separates Fran Brown and Dino Babers right now, aside from the recruiting aspect, we know that recruiting Fran Brown is like miles ahead of where Dino Babers was. But what separates Fran Brown is that Dino Babers had 8 years. He had 8 seasons to figure it out, what to do after a bye week. And he was 4-9. It was time for him to go. Great person. It was time for him to go. Fran Brown has 1 year. It's not even a full year yet. Not even a full year. There's going to be growing pains. So yes, early results after a bye week look very discouraging. They do. But I do have some faith that going forward, they're going to have this team better prepared after a bye week for next season and 2026 and maybe 2027 as well. And beyond that, we'll see. But you get the idea. Let's have a little bit of faith that Fran Brown can correct the issues going forward with this team post-bye week. It's not going to happen this season. They got no more bye weeks. But next year, let's see what happens. It's certainly going to be a talking point, though, when we're on this podcast, when I'm talking on the podcast next season, when we're talking about bye weeks. It's going to be a talking point, but let's hope that they can correct those issues. All right? Again, another bad performance. It doesn't diminish what Fran Brown did in the first half of the season and what he's done overall this season. Syracuse is 5-2, 2-2 in the conference. I think he's still having a very good first year season, and they could still have a very good season this year. They can still have a very good regular season, make a bowl game and all that, boost recruiting. Just going forward, let's see what this team can do after a bye week in 2025, 2026, 2027. That's going to be the real test for Fran Brown and whoever is on his staff for next year. Can this team come better prepared after the bye week next year? All right, so the bye week struggles for Syracuse football, unfortunately, they continue for another year. It wasn't good with Dino Babers, 4-9 from 2016 to 2023. 2024, they're 0-2 after a bye week. Hopefully that changes next season.